Hi folks, thanks for joining us. Bit of a cheeky test stream from Bournemouth. I've had my arm twisted and Adrian and Adam have dragged themselves down there and convinced me that attempting a live stream is a good idea, so here we are. Give you a sense of where things are at. Get rid of some graphics. So I am sat at home in Devon, and that is the lovely view that Adam and Adrian have from the rooftop of the Cumberland Hotel, and we're very grateful for them for providing that rooftop to us. Yeah, just checking a couple of things here. So we've had a few flying displays already. Drop my mic a little bit overexcited. And we've been doing a bit of a test, so I'll spare you the details on the kit that we're using and why I felt the need to do tests rather than just going live, but trying to get things to a state where it was, an enjoyable experience for you guys. So yes, Gareth says, a test? Am I dreaming? Yes, this is kind of a test, Gareth. Thanks for tuning in. That's the wonderful view. It looks kind of bright actually. They've got a bit of sunshine there. We had the Tigers drop earlier, Wildcat and Wasp display, Rich Goodwin as well. I've recorded that and I'm going to play you that in a moment. And Maxim asking if anyone has a program. I'll do my best. Here we go. Quick run through and then I'll press play on Rich so you've got an idea of what went on just about an hour earlier. So I see... I think might be the wing walkers were due on about 40 minutes ago. They didn't display, so we might see them in a few minutes' time. Then we have BBMF, and then Spitfire and Anarchy 1, so that's the Typhoon, displaying as a 2-ship, and then Anarchy, then the Typhoon solo. Vortex Combine. Oh, you're still getting my music. Let me just check what you're hearing. Yeah, you are. Hush music, hush. So yeah, Typhoon. Then we'll see Chinook with the extras of the blades. Chinook display itself. After the blades display, P51 Mustang, red arrows at 4:30. Something I'll say at the outset, and if you're in the chat and listening in and hope to be with us for the rest of the day, the system we're using to bring the stream to you now is not an ideal one, so we may get a few little dropouts of the live feed at points, but bear with us. Pass that on to others who are viewing in the chat. Thank you, Wish, explaining that the Wingwalkers had to cancel today's display due to a technical fault. Forgive me for putting it this way, Wish, but that's hearsay for the time being, unless you've seen it officially somewhere. I heard an inkling that, again, hearsay, that they might display for us prior to when this break is due to end at 3 o'clock. Fumbling around a little bit. It's always good fun, isn't it? We don't really know what's going on, but especially me, I'm sat here down in Devon, kids screaming outside my office doorway. Are you live tomorrow? So maybe tomorrow. We'll see how today goes. Let's see how it goes. And Steve and Psycho saying they can see the Lancaster on the radar. That's lovely to see. So yeah, hoping to see them at what slot time did I say? Yeah, so they are due to end this break at 3 o'clock. But let's get going. We recorded a few bits earlier. You might see a couple of little dropouts in the video of this actually. Let me show you myself. That's not going to work. Is it going to work? Yeah, it's going to work. That's me in Devon, and we'll show, and I'll give you a little view of Rich Goodwin's display, which took place within the last hour. So take a look at this while we wait for the BBMF, bringing things back to live proper at around about 3 o'clock.
It has the fuselage of a Pitts S2S, but almost everything else has been customised. Custom designed wings, massive control surfaces, a modified AIO 540 engine putting out in excess of 320 horsepower. That's more than you get in the likes of the Extra 330. And there's also a place to mount 2 further engines, a pair of Lynx turbojets on either side of the nose, which will give the aircraft a power-to-weight ratio of greater than 1:1.
I should explain, that's the voice
Gyroscopic
of
tumbles
Adam, who's
in
there
the climb,
live.
about to give way to a very impressive manoeuvre indeed, where you'll see Rich in inverted level flight, turning through about 180 degrees just using the rudder. Such is the size of the enormous custom-made rudder that he has fitted onto this aircraft.
But this is a pre-record from just a little while ago. The flying due to take place, as I say, at about 3 o'clock live with the BBMF.
Half Cuba now with a 720 degree roll on the downline. This aircraft is being co-designed by Eddie Sarenman, who designed the Yak 110 and the Jet Wacko over in the United States, so a huge amount of expertise in applying turbojet engines to traditionally piston engine powered aircraft. The aircraft has flown with the 2 jets attached, and it has run those.
Right, we'll leave that for the time being because we've got some live action. Let's head direct to Bournemouth for the wing walk display.
Yes, well, thank you, Ian. We were a little bit surprised by that, but the wing walkers are indeed here, ending that break in the programme a little bit early. We've just had the first couple of passes of their display, but still, the vast majority of it lies ahead of us.
Coming in running now, there's a series of formation passes to go, good time, lying on their side, looking hugely relaxed, but still managing to... Once again, the same for the environmentally friendly stuff. Oh, what a march! Look, the wind has just stopped, and that circular movement...
Obviously a very, very well-known airshow act indeed on the British circuit, but there's a few things that you might perhaps not know about the team and their aircraft. One of them, for example, the Boeing Stearman, was not designed by Boeing. It was designed by the Stearman Aircraft Company. And some 6 or so years after it first flew, the company was bought by Boeing and it was marketed as the Boeing Stearman. But we're seeing aircraft that were produced by Boeing in the 1940s. It saw most of its sales success after Boeing took control of the design. Now the aircraft are turning towards us and preparing to run in for a break, splitting left and right into a lovely opposition sequence that will take up the next 5 minutes or so. Seeing as we were talking about the Stearman, worth pointing out that these are not stock Stearmans. There are quite a number of modifications that have been made to them. There are no controls in the forward cockpit, for example, to make it easier for the wing walkers to climb in and out. Original Stearmans would have been fabric covered. These are instead covered in a stronger synthetic heat shrink wrap. It's got a more powerful engine than standard, a 9-cylinder, 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney Wasp Junior radial. That's more than double the power of a stock Stearman, and that's required so the aircraft can perform aerobatics with effectively a massive air brake on the top. The wing walk is causing an awful lot of drag. Here they come for the first of their opposition passes. Various other changes as well. They've got ailerons on both the upper and lower wings, for example. The stock Stearmans only have ailerons on the lower wing, but they're on both wings on these aircraft. That's to improve their roll rate. And of course, they've got that very powerful smoke system that the team are so well known for, starting to obscure our view of the display. Sorry, Ian, just talking to me through my headphones there. I was talking about the smoke system, wasn't I? This is Ondina that they're using. Basically baby oil, purpose designed, environmentally friendly. I was told once that you could have a bath in it or even drink it with no ill effects, although I wouldn't advise doing that.
Yes, and I reckon it's doing well, and we'll be trying out this week a little later on.
But it's not just for show, it's also for safety, particularly during these opposition passes where it helps the pilots pick each other's aircraft out much more easily. Well, we'll see them rejoin now, and we'll get several more manoeuvres in, well, initially in a loose trail formation. And then we'll see them joining up in a closer formation for some final flybys with the wing walkers actually out of their harnesses at the end of the display. So we're about to get synchronised barrel rolls now.
There we go, it's a roll. Look at that synchronisation. Absolutely outstanding. Wonderful, wonderful.
As the smoke from some of those earlier passes starts blowing across our camera position, I'll just take a moment to introduce the two of us up here, because we didn't get to earlier in the rather rushed start. I'm Adam, not an airshow commentator, trying to talk you through the action, and Adrian on camera, who's also trying to work things through. It's one of his first times using this camera, and testing out this rather experimental setup, which we hope works for you.
I'll introduce myself as well. Adam, I'm sure you can hear me in the background. My name's Ian, I run Planes TV, and yes, Adam, thankfully, grateful to you to introducing yourselves. It's Adam and Adrian who've gone to the effort of dragging themselves out down to Bournemouth, and as Adam explains, this is a slightly experimental setup, so feeding a signal back to me here in Devon, and hopefully adding a little bit of polish to things, but also causing some complexities, shall we say, but hopefully all for your enjoyment, hopefully. So yes, it's a bit of a shame about that chunk of concrete in the way there, isn't it? But other than that, they've got a wonderful view up there on the Cumberland. I'll let Adam guide you through the rest of this display. that's an opposite moment actually to also explain that we may get the occasional dropout like that. I hope it doesn't get any worse than that, but yeah, may get the occasional one.
That certainly is a wonderful viewing spot up here. We're very grateful to the Cumberland for not just hosting us, but also certainly not something that we expected. That was lovely. Well, now you see the wing walkers actually out of their harnesses, and on that pass on the leading edge of the wing, we're going to see several more fly past. Of course, they're still attached to the aircraft by means of a cable. On this next pass, we'll see one leg on the trailing edge of the top wing and the other leg between the two cockpits down on the fuselage.
No communication calls, don't get they have to do this really well either side. The boys can talk to each other for the girls' time, and then they choreograph what they're going to do, and then just holding on towards the trailing edge.
Encountering winds of up to 150 miles an hour as they go through this routine. It's got to be very difficult work, requiring a lot of athleticism from them. And then to make life harder, forces of up to 4G.
And of course they would fly around, lots of spare pilots, lots of spare airplanes, they would fly around big rest, just picking up people for joy rides. Putting the head down in the bars, flying through the bars, and to form the combination of bars and form the inshore much the same time. I mean, this time I'm expecting to see them on the very trailing edge with the curtains just working on their tippy toes. They're hanging on in what they call the arabesque. So you tip them away, once you go to the girls, when you go, and then you down and you know, giving you a wave as well. Holding on. You don't get it ready for you. Don't land on the top of an aircraft at 150 miles an hour.
Probably a very familiar story to many of you who are well used to seeing this team, but I shall tell it anyway. Founded in 1984 by Vic Norman, who was so inspired by the barnstorming displays of old, he decided to bring it back to the airshow circuit. The team has existed under various names through the years, the names of various title sponsors. They perform an average of 60 displays a year, and they've done so in more than 20 countries, all across Europe and the Middle East, as well as far afield as India, China, Japan and Australia. And here they come now for their final pass. One leg in the cockpit, the other leg on the lower wing, as the Aero Superbatics wing walkers bid farewell to us. And with that, we've got about a 5-minute gap now before the next display item, which will be the Battle of Britain Memorial flights. So I shall pass you back to Ian.
Thanks, Adam. Really good stuff. I hope you're all enjoying this too. It's a lot of fun for me sat here at home, tuning into an airshow without having to even switch the truck engine on. I'll leave the feed up so viewers at home can see what's going on live. It is just the one camera, as you'll have identified. So Adam and Adrian there. Adam providing a bit of commentary and technical support to Adrian. Are they coming back for one more? Yes, they are. Let's have a little look at this. Great to see the guys still very active on the circuit, and as people are pointing out in the chat, the Lancaster's visible on radar, so on a flight radar I'm looking at ADSB exchange out to the east from Bournemouth, and I'm expecting a crowd rear arrival, but that looks like maybe they're not able to do that. I wonder whether the airport causes some issue. I don't know about that. Do we normally get crowd rear arrivals at Bournemouth? Guys, it's been a while since I've made a trip down there, at least a few years. So Adrian's going to give us a hello. Yes, you can, Adrian. Hop on the camera whenever you see fit and I will come to you. He's going to say hello to us all. If he can get it framed up. He wants to say hello, which I think is only fair, isn't it? Give the guys a moment. Lift my audio back up a little bit. Lift Adrian's audio a little bit. I'll tell you what, I'd be more happy about giving a moment on camera if he could expose it correctly. If Adam's listening in, a little brighter would be nice. Look at that, he's come with notes, ladies and gents. This is a man who comes prepared. He's saying exposure. Maybe I should really oh, go on gents, say hello.
Don't forget to introduce yourself, your real name.
Hello, apparently we're on camera. I hope we're on camera, otherwise we're interrupting Ian very badly. We are going to introduce ourselves on camera. I'm Adam. I'm trying my best to talk you through today's displays, although I'm not a commentator, and Adrian is on camera.
What Adam didn't say is he's new to us, he's joined us, but he can do a bit of everything. He can use the camera, he can edit, he can talk on camera, he knows his aeroplanes backwards. The only thing he can't do is drive, so Planes TV has become a Adam Landau taxi service, but we're glad to have him.
Why do you think I suggested we should stream Bournemouth? It's because I needed to get down here and I needed a lift.
Well, Bournemouth's quite close to where our business is now based, and we've got a new lot of kit, new camera, new microphone system, new live broadcast system. We needed to test it. So today was the test day, but it actually went quite well, so we've actually gone live. We are back tomorrow. We've got to make a decision whether tomorrow is free on YouTube, as this is, or whether we go on our subscription channel, watch.planestv.com. We have got the B-52 tomorrow. But that's
and we've got several other things that won't be seen today. One of them being the challenge involving the speedboat and the pits. They're going to be racing around a figure-of-8 circuit out on the sea.
Well, that sounds tremendous. Of course, Adam knows his aeroplanes backwards, but my knowledge of aeroplanes stops around about 1984. Starts 1943, but so I suppose we fit there. But speedboat and pits, that's a new one on me.
Yeah, I can't think of any time we've seen an app like that before. I can't tell what the time is, so in case something is just about to run in, we may as well get back to our positions.
We ought to say it's just a one-camera shoot.
Yes,
so we're not mixing two cameras, so it won't look as smooth as the two-camera mix or three-camera mix we usually do. Forgive us for that. So we may zoom quickly to find the next aeroplane, or we may gently pan. We'll see how it goes.
About to run in from the left. So
about to run in.
Apparently.
Back on the camera.
We slide away to our camera positions to catch the Lancaster, which is apparently about to arrive from our left, hopefully with a Spitfire and a Hurricane off the wings. But we'll find out very shortly.
There you make it look.
Indeed, it does have a Spitfire and a Hurricane with it, which is tremendous to see. And I'm not going to talk too much over the Battle of Britain Memorial flight because I'm sure you'd rather listen to it.
Continue this formation for a little bit favour side of that.
So we see the fighters split away now, and we're going to get solo displays from all three of these aircraft. But first, a fly past from the Hurricane on our right. That will be followed by a fly past by the Lancaster, also from our right, before the Spitfire starts its solo display. And it looked to me like the BBMF Spitfire Mark II. Painted up as a Mark I Spitfire Battle of Britain era. It's a bit hard to tell when it's so backlit. Here's the Hurricane. High above the Lancaster, the Spitfire comes diving in for its solo display.
Well, 26 October 1940 was being flown by the Polish pilot Ludwig Martel, shot down by a German TF-109. Carried shell punched a large hole in the port wing, and Martel was wounded by the shrapnel on his left side, and body and his legs. Despite his injuries, he managed to fly the aircraft out to 16,000 feet. It found him heading and fighting to stay contact. Fourth land field near Typhoon. Spitfire next operation unit was number 616. Squadron takes the track there. They are ventilated and a culture. Occupied Europe as fighting command once it went on the offensive during 1941.
This Spitfire display sequence is specially choreographed for the 2022 season, the Platinum Jubilee season, with many of the manoeuvres being directly inspired by that theme. And it's not the only Battle of Britain memorial flight Spitfire will see today, in a way, because back when the historic aircraft flight was founded in 1957, that's the organisation that went on to become the BBMF, there were 3 Spitfires that were part of that. One of them now flies for the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight and will be displaying for us today as part of our evening flying programme. Very nice opportunity to see both current and former BBMF aircraft in the sky at the same show.
Today, coming representing 54-165-11-RP-395. TV3 is the first one aircraft that New Zealander Al Deere on the 10th of July 1940 was recorded at the official start of the battles for Britain until the 31st of August, when, after being bombed on takeoff from Austria, our dear crashed upside down twice. Yes, of the ordered Spitfire pilots took two, it was astonishing. Over 500 of the pilots were not even with quite contribution made by Commonwealth countries, and of course there has been overrun by Poland and Czechoslovakia. At the end of the war, the Spitfire carried an engine producing more than twice the speed of the original maximum takeoff weight design, or double. Firepower in the Spitfire factor of 5, maximum speed has increased by a third, pretty much essentially the same airplane. And in war, of course, they're very, very short range of or ability to contact the enemy. They're very short range 303 bullets in very short supply, just over 20 seconds worth of putting in the 20mm cannon and extended ammunition.
So final pass from the Spitfire, and arriving from the opposite direction, the Hurricane Mark 2C. This is believed to be the very last Hurricane to enter RAF service, but it's actually painted to represent a Hurricane Mark I of 303 Squadron, which was delivered to Northolt in September 1940 at the height of the Battle of Britain. It's two very historic Hurricanes that the BBMF have. This one, the last to enter RAF service, and the other, which is also a Mark 2C, was the very last Hurricane to be produced. Final pass from the Hurricane, which will be a victory roll, and then we shall welcome the Lancaster for its solo display.
on today. The contribution made by this aircraft and its crew to the freedom of our nation.
What a treat it is to see the Lancaster back on the airshow circuit. A relative rarity over the past few seasons. It ended its 2019 season a little early, didn't display in 2020, and then only made it to one public event in 2021. But this year it has been a full season of the BBMF's traditional three-ship displays, and it has been wonderful to see the Lancaster back.
Performance was outstanding. We carried a maximum bomb load of 22,000 pounds, maximum level speed with a full load of 15,000 feet to 275 miles an hour. It could cruise routinely at altitudes about 20,000 feet with a rate of speed of 200 miles an hour. All with a full bomb load.
This particular Lancaster was built at Harden in 1945 as a Lancaster B1. It was destined for use in the Far East. However, the war ended before it could be deployed. So instead, she was initially put into storage and then was sent to South Africa for photo reconnaissance duties. Later used for testing purposes at the College of Aeronautics at Cranfield before coming under the control of the Air Historical Branch. She was restored to wartime specifications and transferred to the BBMF in 1973. The landing gear will come down. We'll get a dirty pass next. BBMF take extremely good care of this aircraft. A limit of 50 flight hours per year and a very intensive maintenance regime, and that should see her remaining airworthy until at least 2065.
Total of 7,377 Lancasters were built between 1941 and 1956. Many of these were lost in operations and destroyed in other air crashes. It did survive just one other flying in the world in Canada. We were blessed with a here some years ago, of course, by working together. But an opportunity now is Lancaster comes back for another pass. So remember the 125,000 aircrew who served in Bomber Command during World War II. Over 73,000 of them become casualties, either killed, wounded, shot down, or made prisoners of war. As the Lancaster comes back around, try and take a look at the nose arms on the side. Depict the kangaroo in Wellington boots playing the bagpipes, representing the mixed nationalities of Scotland, Australia and Wales of its crew at the time, EA-474. Yes, the Lancaster didn't carry the weight of tonight's bombing offence against Nazi Germany, of course, on the same, but was supported by other earlier twin-engine bombers like the Wellington and the other four engine bombers serving in the Halifax, as well as the popular medium bomber versions of the twin-engine jet outrunners.
might be a good time to say hello
Well,
again. Thanks for
normally
joining us.
is the point
there's Adam.
where
You crack on, Adam.
There will be many veterans students today who will see that with a tear in their eye.
Sorry, Ian. We've got a bit of latency here between the two of us, so it's easy to step on each other. I was just going to say, normally that is the point where a BBMF display would end, but I think without much of a pause at all, we should move forward into a continuation of that display to ease us into the next performance. We should be seeing the BBMF Spitfire in formation with the Typhoon FGR-4 from the 29 Squadron Royal Air Force, arriving from the right-hand side very shortly. They form the synchro pair. They'll be giving us several passes in formation before we move into the Typhoon solo display, but until that happens, I shall let Ian crack on with whatever it is that he wanted to say, and I'll speak to you again in a few minutes.
Thank you, Adam. And yeah, a bit of latency. We don't have full two-way communications between the two of us. I'll leave this picture live, so when Adrian does pick up the Typhoon and Spitfire, which I'm really looking forward to, it's one of the reasons really we're keen to cover Bournemouth. And big thank you to Monty for that super chat donation. And Jackson, thank you for tuning in as a member on YouTube. You can join as a member on YouTube. That helps us with a little monthly amount. It helps encourage me to go out and do more of this. A review asking, is it just one camera down there? It is. Can't really justify anything more. No one's paying us to do this apart from you wonderful members and obviously the subscribers to the On Demand service. It's not quite a clear-cut decision for us to throw cameras out and about for live broadcasts like this. It's a costly affair, especially when it's a 4-day event. And in the background to that as well, we do have lots of streams coming up which are slightly different commercial propositions. So we're heading out to Jersey this week. We'll do Duxford on the streaming service next weekend. So if you're a subscriber to watch.plainstv.com, you'll be able to watch that there. And then immediately after that, we're out to the Czech Republic. And all of those shows are requiring a fair amount of admin and organisation from my point of view. So hence being sat here in Devon, doing bits and pieces of work on the side, whilst Adam and Adrian, who are not getting involved with the... well, they are involved with the... Here they are. Right, let's take this.
Back live from Bournemouth for this wonderful display pair. If you can recall 2015 and the Battle of Britain anniversary shows that took place that year, we saw the most wonderful of synchro pair displays comprising a specially painted Typhoon FGR-4 with a Spitfire at the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. This is a taste of that. It's effectively the first half of that synchro pair display, which consists of 3 flypasts with these 2 aircraft in formation. They're rolling out on the 45-degree line now towards us for a 360-degree turn. Typhoon I mentioned from 29 Squadron. It used to be 29 Reserve Squadron, not so anymore. It is based at RAF Coningsby and it is the primary Typhoon operational conversion unit. That is the squadron that trains pilots who are more than competent and qualified on other aircraft in specifically flying the Typhoon. So we're going to see both aircraft turning towards us now for a very photogenic moment. An opposition brake, the Spitfire going left, the Typhoon going right. The Typhoon will then perform a 270-degree turn to reposition and launch straight into a very powerful solo display.
And there you have it.
Each year's display pilot constructs their own routine from a selection of a couple of dozen pre-approved manoeuvres. And this year's show starts with an on-crowd barrel roll on the 45-degree line. Aircraft started out in life as a Typhoon F2, but it's been known as an FGR4 since 2008. That represents its increased capabilities since it was first introduced into service. The G stands for ground attack and the R for reconnaissance. Typhoons took over QRA duties with the RAF in 2007 and then made their combat debut in 2011 over the skies of Libya as part of Operation Elemi. In now for a negative G push. Fuel they're venting from the tail. That's because there's a transfer line that runs to the tail. That's used so that air can escape from the tanks during air-to-air refueling. But in these negative G manoeuvres, fuel is forced up that transfer line and vaporizes as it exits the aircraft. Again, 3.5 aileron rolls into a negative G push. And you can see during those aileron rolls a very good demonstration of the Typhoon's 250 degree per second roll rate. Typhoon has a 24 degree alpha limit, 24 degrees angle of attack as part of the flight control software. We're about to see that demonstrated in a slow pass presented not along the A axis as with previous years, but on the B axis straight in towards us, which really emphasises just how slow this aircraft is flying during this manoeuvre. dangerous on the B-axis. 2/3 of a loop, then half a roll. In fact, 1.5 rolls. Still achieving the same effect though. And now we'll see the landing gear being extended for a dirty roll and a demonstration of the immense power at the Typhoon's disposal. Full reheat at the end of the manoeuvre as the landing gear is retracted and the aircraft will depart on the left 45-degree line. And from this very slow speed manoeuvre, we'll see the next one after this is a high-speed fly past at Mach 0.95. So now we see this transition from very slow to very high-speed flight. Typhoon project still very much ongoing, and anyone who watched our live broadcast from the Royal International Air Tattoo will have seen the arrival of a Qatari Typhoon that was actually in the process of being delivered. Still many export customers receiving their aircraft. Upgrades to the British Typhoon fleet are ongoing constantly. A contract is currently being tendered to add new radar, and there's a P3EC package due in 2025. That will replace the multifunction displays in the cockpit with F-35 style large area displays to improve the pilot's situational awareness. And the final manoeuvre now as the Typhoon approaches on the B-axis for the last time and will pull up into the vertical for a climb with aileron rolls. I must say, that bodes quite well for getting a full red arrows display later. I expected him to disappear into the clouds there, but staying below the cloud base during that climb. So, yes, fingers crossed for a full red arrows display. Now, next up, we have the Blades and the Chinook, which will be taking place in a few minutes' time, starting with a formation fly past before the two teams perform their respective solo displays. But until they arrive, I shall hand you back to Ian.
Cheers, Adam. Didn't they do a good job? It's fun this, sat at home not having to squirm my way around a tripod, which Adrian was having to do there. Not an easy task for the Typhoon, a challenging display, but Adrian doing a great job there, I think. I'll leave this view up so we can see what's going on. both of us, that is. Whilst I just run through a few of the lovely chat messages coming in, I saw Ethel said thank you to Monty earlier for that super chat, and he's saying I hope you're well. Certainly I'm, Monty. Very looking forward very much to the shows we've got coming up in the near future. Jersey, as I say, Duxford next weekend particularly, and then NATO Days as well is going to be a huge effort for us, an English language live stream. We're dragging Ben Dunal out there, and that's going to be a good one. That will be on the show's own YouTube channel, but I'll get a email newsletter out about it. Haven't done that for today's stream because, as I say, this is a bit of a test. Going well so far, although you will see those occasional dropouts, which is sort of my reason to be slightly hesitant about using this in public. But here we are. Hopefully the couple of 3 we saw during the Typhoon there, the little dropouts didn't detract too much. I saw another super chat as well. Thank you so much to Falcon, Drift Gaming and Cars. Lovely to see you on the stream again, and saying great job. Great job. Are you live all weekend? So we certainly won't be Sunday, but I'm hoping to do something tomorrow. We're running on 4G signals. I won't bore you with the technicalities, but there are some things that mean that it's not a clear-cut thing yet. But if today goes well, then I hope we can do something tomorrow. Certainly the guys are keen. May I ask, what is it you're testing in? So, testing a bonded 4G system, pushing video back to me here in Devon, and then pushing it out again. Something we've messed around with for a rehearsal of the Black Eagles, actually, prior to Reat. Worked quite well, but we did see some flakiness, as we are doing today, which we haven't been able to refine. A couple of things I'd like to do over the winter that we'll probably get as a clear-cut system to do these kinds of things, and come next year we'll do stuff like this more regularly. Maybe answers your question, Air Review, maybe doesn't. Who else was talking to us? Lots of speculation about whether the Reds might fly the B-52. I doubt that very much. What else did I see? Oh yes, Mike kindly encouraging people to give the video a like. I tell you what, maybe we'll set a benchmark of likes to get to, that if we do hit it, maybe I'll guarantee we'll do it live tomorrow on YouTube. The trouble is, because we're on a 4G signal, we don't have any other internet provision there. There's always the possibility that network getting saturated at Bournemouth with the huge crowds that you do get. So looking okay so far, but it is Friday, so not the bigger public day. So I won't set a benchmark. I'll tell you what, if we get any more, or very many more, Plains TV supporters, new members on the YouTube channel, like Steph, who's just joined. Thank you, Steph, for joining up as a member on the service. That is what will encourage me to do more of this YouTube malarkey, as opposed to our pay-to-view stuff out on our on-demand service. Okay, we've got Chinook and the Blades team coming in from the left there. So I think I'll hand back to Adam. Just a big thank you to all those who are pushing the like button, who are joining as members, and who, of course, who subscribe on the on-demand service. We've got Duxford coming next weekend for you, so something to look forward to there. But yes, in the meantime, I'll hand back to Adam live at Bournemouth.
Yes, vortex formation coming in from the left. The Chinook and the Blades flying in support of the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund. They'll perform 2 manoeuvres for us in formation. We'll get this fly past from left to right, and then we'll get a bomb burst from show centre that I'm very much looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's very breaking blades, about 30 foot in length, so 60 foot across the tip. So, realistically, you're talking 80 degrees, maybe to the left, maybe near 50 from the very tip of those blades, the wings of those actors. So, there's an awful lot of concentration going in. I have no doubt it's done as well. There's the phone go full, there is the formation coming in front of the big wave,
you'll notice one blade there in a different colour scheme to the rest, so I'll just explain that. That is Golf Oscar Foxtrot Foxtrot Oscar, and that was put in this colour scheme for an air race training camp that took place last October. It's since had the air race decals removed, but it hasn't been put back into a full blade scheme. It's known informally as the Ghost because of its white scheme. We've seen it leading the four-ship display quite a few times over the last few weeks, actually. It seems to have become the norm to see the Ghost as part of the Blades display over the second half of this display season.
Yeah, potentially the wind will be a factor in their wind as well today. So there's a little bit of wind. It's actually a fairly still day. There's a little bit of wind from the left and right, so that's something that the display crew in the Chinook are going to have to take into mind there, because as they turn towards the display day, they have got an awful lot of room for corrections, given that they've got those extras on the wing there. So they'll be making that judgment when they want to make a turn a little bit easier today than it's been from the earlier displays on the summer. That wind is just like flatter.
The formation now prepares to run in on the B axis for a bomb burst, and following that we'll have the conventional displays from both teams. There'll be a brief pause while the blades disappear, crowd rear to reform, regroup and run in for their show, but in the meantime we're looking out directly to the front. The smoke about to come on. It must be said, I've been looking forward to seeing this all week. I've seen photos of this being performed at other events, but I've not seen it in person yet.
That's smoke on. Ladies and gentlemen, get your cameras ready for the break.
Wasn't that lovely? And a nice burst of blade slap from the Chinook there as well. Blade slap being that unique phenomenon that is caused when one rotor blade passes through the tip vortex of another. And that's why you hear it so much more often on the Chinook than any other helicopter, because there are those two big rotor heads next to each other. So any time the aircraft is pitching, you get one set of rotors passing through the vortices left by the other. And that is what produces the blade slap sound.
So ladies and gentlemen, my name is Louise McIntosh. I'm the commentator for the Blades aerobatic display team. The guys are just reforming.
The blades are crowd rear, just getting back together after that bomb burst. Two of them in close formation already, the other two bearing down rapidly on the leader. It is a crowd rear arrival with the blades, as we are all very familiar. Flying 4 Extra 300Ls, which is the most popular version of the Extra 300. It has a low wing for improved aerobatic performance over the original mid-wing Extra, but it also has 2 seats, and that's vitally important for the Blades operation, because of course they also operate as an aerobatic airline. That does give it a slightly higher weight than the single-seat Extras, so it's not generally the aircraft of choice for high-level aerobatic competitions, but it is extremely popular at air shows and is flown by aerobatic teams the world over.
Passengers in the front seats of our aircraft. Yes, that's right. You can come fly with us in our Extra 300. You can fly in close formation and do aerobatic sorties.
We'll be seeing over the course of today's display the full spectrum of the Extra 300's aerobatic capabilities, a roll rate of about 400 degrees per second, and traditionally 300 horsepower Lycoming AEIO 540 engine. The most advanced single-seaters, the Extra 330 SCs, improve on that performance slightly, roll rate of 420 degrees per second and 15 extra horsepower. They have won the top award at the World Aerobatic Championships every year bar one since 2009. But here is the extra 300L version in the hands of the blades, arriving directly overhead. We're probably going to see over the course of this display the limitations of it being a one-camera stream, because there's an awful lot going on over the course of this display routine. Aircraft arriving from different directions. There will be some potentially unsightly camera moves as we move between those sections of the formation. We'll do our best. This is an experimental setup, as we've mentioned. So a very impressive manoeuvre coming up now. This is called Falling Angels, a series of pushovers and stall turns from a very tight box formation. Airspeed bleeding away to zero, and here it comes.
We've got blade 2 and 3 on either side performing stall turns, while blade 4 performs a pushover and blade 1 falls back. The cameras that are ready for the next.
And now they're going to charge towards us for an 8G manoeuvre. This is the crossfire break.
Line up the crowd at full speed.
So to the left and right, blades 2 and 3 will turn back towards us for the first opposition pass of the display. They will then pull away in front of us to exit to our front with a series of snap rolls. That is implementing a stall and then adding a bootful of rudder to rotate the aircraft. We'll see that in just a moment, but first of all, here comes the cross.
The blade 2 position is flown by Ian, that is former Chinook and Jaguar pilot. He joined the team originally.
So pulling up into those snap rolls now. Meanwhile, from the left and the right, blades 1 and 4 are approaching for an opposition pass of their own. And they will pull up into the vertical for synchronised tail slides.
Before touching the throttle for silence.
Blade 4 on the right-hand side of that cross is now going to commence the first of 2 solo displays. He's now exiting to the left and climbing, rolling as he does so.
So blade 4 here, James McMillan, or McD, David is showing off as he does. He joined the Royal New Zealand Air Force to start with and was the youngest fast jet pilot. He then went on to join the RAF.
About to see him pull up to 45 degrees and then a bootful of rudder to show off the top surface of the aircraft in the slide off.
This one is called the blade slide. So he's flying the aircraft sideways with his smoke coming out at a 45-degree angle.
And turning that into a split S to come back onto the A-axis, pulling up into the vertical for a second time for a manoeuvre called the torque roll. The smoke will come on, the aircraft will climb, rolling in the vertical, the airspeed will bleed away to zero, and he'll use the torque of the engine to keep the aircraft rotating even with no forward airspeed before falling back through his own smoke. As Blade 4 exits to our front, the rest of the team are arriving from the left. They are going to perform a manoeuvre called Crazy. And at the same time, Blade 4 is going to rejoin on the formation, chasing them down now and about to barrel roll around them. And we'll see the aircraft climbing away into a wing over now, reforming in a tight box formation in preparation for the next manoeuvre. We're going to see some very tricky formation flying next, because we're going to see a loop that evolves into a 540-degree turn, and at that point where the manoeuvre transitions from a loop into a turn, we'll see the aircraft pitching and rolling in close formation at the same time. It's called the Aerobytes Box Bend after Aerobytes, the blade's primary sponsor. And Box Bend because they are, of course, in box formation. That's the standard name for this four-ship diamond shape.
Aerobytes specializes in delivering aviation safety software.
And the smoke goes off around the backside of this 450-degree turn because there is a formation change going on, and you'll now see, rather than flying in box formation, blades 1 to 3 are in a very challenging line abreast formation. Blades 2 and 3 looking directly sideways over their shoulder to maintain formation on the lead-up.
You will see the clear red and white logo of our new sponsor for 2022. That is
And another formation change happening right in front of our eyes now as Blade 4 slides out to the far right-hand side of the formation. They are now in line astern, all one alongside the other, about to pull up into the vertical. The airspeed will bleed away to 0, and then a bootful of left rudder, and the aircraft will pivot round their left wingtip for perfectly synchronised stall turns there.
Pretty spectacular, makes a great picture.
And on the downline, another formation change already starting to take shape as the aircraft transition into line astern, one behind the other, just getting into line astern as they come level there, and then pulling up at quarter-second intervals into the blade snake. Smoke about to come on over the top of the manoeuvre.
And all of the terms and conditions for the competition are on there. Please do get entry because the competition is on Sunday.
You'll see the aircraft in reasonably tight formation over the top, but as they build speed on the downline, the spacing increases between them. But it's now time for all four aircraft to get back into a much tighter formation, back into that box shape. I mentioned earlier the extra 300 has a roll rate of some 400 degrees per second. We're about to see that demonstrated because the aircraft will approach from the left in box formation, and they are going to perform 3 synchronised aileron rolls. Not 3 in one go, one roll, then a pause, then another roll, another pause, and a final roll. Always perfectly synchronised. Remaining in box formation for the next manoeuvre, we're going to see a 180-degree wing over as the aircraft turn around. They're going to approach from the right for a quarter clover. That's basically halfway between a loop and a barrel roll. On the way out of that quarter clover, they'll be showing the undersides to us, and they'll split into 3 elements. Blades 1 and 4, one behind the other, are going to stay in line astern. 2 and 3 on the outside of the formations will split apart in the vertical break. So they're rolling on the upline of that loop, twisting it into a quarter clover through 90 degrees, and now here comes the split. But keep your attention on the middle 2 aircraft, blades 1 and 4, who are pulling up immediately for the heart.
They are going to break out and perform an iconic shape in the sky that is dedicated to our charity partner, the RAF Benevolent Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the heart.
Meanwhile, in the middle of that heart, you might be able to make out blades 2 and 3 reforming very rapidly. They are now diving in towards us. They're going to perform opposing derry turns and then split. Blade 3 initially rolling around the smoke of blade 2, but here in a moment come those opposing derry turns. A 270-degree roll and then a pull.
The derry split.
And both aircraft will now turn back towards each other for the final opposition pass of the display. As they cross, they'll pull up into the vertical. Airspeed will bleed away, they'll start rolling, they'll introduce some rudder. And we will see synchronised Lomshevacs by both blades 2 and 3, tumbling the aircraft through all of its axes.
350 miles an hour. Now putting into the vertical to perform synchronised Lomshevacs. This is a Czech word meaning hangover or headache.
Meanwhile, from show centre, 2 aircraft running in a wide line abreast formation. They are pulling up for a very, very challenging manoeuvre indeed. This is the double knife edge spin.
Pulling into vertical to perform knife edge spin. This is a very dynamic manoeuvre which involves the aircraft.
Quite exceptional to see such a manoeuvre executed by multiple aircraft with such perfect synchronicity. Normally we might see a solo aircraft performing a manoeuvre like that, and that would be impressive in itself, but the Blade's doing it with 2. Blade 4 will now begin his second solo display of the day, and his final solo display of the day, pulling up for a manoeuvre called the centrifuge there. Now onto the display line for a slow roll. Lots of cross control going on there to maintain perfectly level flight.
Pulling up now, he will position the aircraft towards the middle, where he will demonstrate the rolling capability of the Extra 300. Part of the display, he is pulling into the vertical to complete this part with a manoeuvre called.
So as Blade 4 flies that cravat, and our attention is very much taken by him. Out on the left 45, the rest of the team have been reforming and will shortly run in. Keep following Blade 4 though, because Blade 4 will intersect the rest of the formation, and then we shall see another quite remarkable manoeuvre. This is called the revolver. Blade 1 is rolling while also turning, and at the same time Blades 2 and 3 are barrel rolling around his formation. Must be an extricating manoeuvre to fly, and one that I'm told required very much practice.
If you have taken any good pictures today, please do send them to the team, ladies and gentlemen. Using at the Blade team.
As Revolver completes out to our front, Blade 4 is chasing the rest of the team down, rejoining very rapidly. They'll get back into box formation in preparation for the final manoeuvre of the display. The team will approach us on the B axis and pull up into the vertical before splitting apart for the champagne split.
Rolling out now. The team are heading towards the cloud line before pulling up and splitting. Blade 4 at the fin. This is the champagne split. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Blade. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
And no sooner have the blades departed, but the next display item is running in from directly in front of us, very low above the water. The unmistakable shape of the Chinook HC6A of the Royal Air Force. We saw it earlier in formation with the blades, but now running in for its solo display, sneaking up on us from the front, just a speck above the horizon for now, but bearing down very rapidly. The RAF is the largest export customer for the Chinook. The bulk of the fleet is made up of aircraft like this, the Chinook HC6A. These are upgraded HC1s and HC2s that date back to the 1980s and 90s. They've been upgraded to the new HC6 standard. They're roughly equivalent to the CH-47D, as the Americans would call it. The RAF also fields the HC5, which is roughly equivalent to the MH-64E, and 14 HC6s. Those are the newest aircraft in the fleet. That's the UK designation for the CH-47F. The fleet is to be further bolstered in the coming years with the arrival of 14 Block 2 H-47 extended range Chinooks optimised for special operations. The first due to arrive in 2026, which will make the UK the first overseas operator of the Block 2 Chinook. So here comes the aircraft from the front, about to start a new display sequence for this year, designed by the captain, Flight Lieutenant Matthew Smythe. And he's approaching from show centre to pull up slightly and then execute a pedal turn.
There, we're a big pull up into a pedal turn. You see the real size of our aircraft now, front to back 99 feet.
And there's the iconic blade slap as one set of rotor blades passes through the vortices created by the other. A sound almost unique to the Chinook. As the aircraft departs to our left, it will shortly reposition and come back towards us from the left to right to perform a manoeuvre known as the roller coaster. This is a pair of nose-overs, which will see the aircraft pitch up to 50 degrees and then down to 50 degrees.
Operated the aircraft in Afghanistan, Mali and the Falklands, and then many exercises across Europe in his time. And as you can see them now positioning from the left, we're going to start the next sequence, which is the roller coaster. A big favourite for the crowd here, 2 roller. Now this aircraft is operated about 16.5 tons to start with, so a huge machine. The UK is the only country to have a display of this nature with the CH-47 aircraft. No other country in the world operates the aircraft for display in this manner, so we're really lucky to have it here in the UK. Now helping to see out today in the left-hand seat, another very experienced captain, but operating as co-pilot today.
Displaying this aircraft is a true team effort, with the pilot looking predominantly outside the cockpit and the co-pilot's job looking predominantly inside at the instruments, calling out the airspeeds and height of the aircraft to the pilot. You might just be able to make some of those calls out over the radio at some point, because we might just be picking up a little bit of the PA. We're not plugged into the proper PA system here, which is why, unfortunately, you're lumbered with me trying to talk you through all of the action instead. But we might be able to hear that at some point. They often do play it out, and it's particularly important here at overwater displays, where it's very difficult to judge height visually because of a lack of reference points on the water. And for that reason, seaside displays in the UK have a blanket altitude minima of 100 feet, even for pilots who can normally fly lower. So another nose over here. I hope you could hear that over the PA system. A little bit of the communications going on in the cockpit there. So another pedal turn to come back towards us. And on this next pass we'll see something of a wing rock, or at least it would be a wing rock if the aircraft actually had wings. The team call it a wing rock nonetheless, so I'm going to stick with that name as well.
Reminding us we all love the sound of Chinook, that incredible blade clap, because we all feel very strongly that black jet noise is boring. Give me a wave, boys and girls. This is a quick moment for the come past. Give you a wing wave and the come past when he's next to them. So I'll take a brief moment to the right at this point to you all of these. And I'll take this chance to give a quick shout out to Jenny family who are here today. So Debbie, Ellie, Joe, Mel, Hannah, Connie, William and George.
And now we shall see one of the changes that has been enacted for the 2022 display sequence. You may recall a manoeuvre called the quick stop, and that used to be performed on the A axis along the crowd line. Well, now it is performed on the B axis directly towards the crowd, and this will see the aircraft transition from relatively high speed into the hover very rapidly by presenting those massive rotor blades to the oncoming airflow. Also applying a bootful of pedal. Here it comes. And that very rapidly brings the aircraft into the hover. The rear ramp is down, and the aircraft will now fly sideways down the show line. We'll see if we can get Adrian to zoom right in on that rear ramp and see if we can catch a glimpse of the Loadmaster waving away. Yes, there he is. Something of a trademark of Chinook displays over the last few years with those big orange foam hands.
Now, Chris joined CRS in 2001. He spent quite a bit of time on set. It's a pleasure to have him on board the aircraft.
Do stick with us, folks. Just a little bit of a dropout there in the feed from Bournemouth. This is one of the issues with the setup we're using. May get the occasional break like this, but I'm anticipating it coming back. Certainly crossing my fingers and hoping that it might anyway. So as I say, do stick around. Nice wave from the Chinook there, and thank you for all of those who have joined the chat. I love seeing the conversation going on there. I am keeping an eye on it. Thank you to Mike Rimmer who posted a super chat earlier on. Thank you for that. Helps encourage me to do more of this, and perhaps buy a little bit more data for the.
And there are only guns on 3 sides of the Chinook. There's guns on the rear ramp and guns in the doors on each side, but that left one side of the Chinook vulnerable. By rotating it all the way up in the climate very rapidly, any one point could become vulnerable to gunfire from the Chinook. It's no longer used. It was developed specifically for that one location.
Bring the aircraft down under water. This is another judgment call for him. This calls to place wires towards this is a rather monochromatic surface. This will just height. Those will be useful out there. And of course, spinning in the left hand seat is very useful in making sure that he's got that readout properly. Then that blade flat building. Brake to the left, another pass, and we're going to approach the end of this display here this afternoon. Another couple of maneuvers down.
Well, I hope you're back with us after that little drop out, and I might get a voice in my ear to confirm that at some point. But we have just a couple of manoeuvres to go, and the next one is a straight and level quick stop. Now, if we had a runway available to us, at this venue, this would be the rear wheel running landing. And indeed, if you want to see that, then you can watch our coverage from the Royal International Air Tattoo on watch.planestv.com. But, of course, there is no runway available to us here today, which is why we are just going to see a straight and level quick stop and then the aircraft reverse.
So what this will do is give you the opportunity to see why we have limits on this aircraft. So the next pictures are moving up. You're going to see the back end of the aircraft descend slightly, and I want you to imagine a runway underneath those back wheels when you've done it. And imagine as you start to increase that pitch, how close those rear road blades will be coming to a runway. And this is the reason why we have a limit of 20 degrees. Goes up on this maneuver. If we're applying that to the runway, the circulation forward, back to the right around. Now give all a big wave, boys and girls. The customer's got there.
And now we're going to get one final manoeuvre. This is the over-the-shoulder departure. Another tactical departure manoeuvre like the Gorney corkscrew that you may or may not have seen earlier, depending on exactly when that dropout occurred. But that is used to exit a landing site if there is a threat from directly in front of the air. Quickly rotating the Chinook to expose the bulletproof plating on the rear ramp and the underside to that incoming threat rather than the cockpit. And as the Chinook now departs to our centre, we await the next display item in a few minutes' time, which will be the P51D Mustang of the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight. But until then, I shall pass you back to Ian to have a little bit of a chat until that next display item arrives.
Isn't he doing a good job, folks? A big thank you to Adam and to Adrian, who are on the ground in Bournemouth. I'm back down here in Devon trying to get set up for some big shows that are coming up in the near future. We're heading out to Jersey this week, Duxford the weekend after, and then NATO days in the Czech Republic. So yes, I'm here in actually the rainy Devon. It's chucking it down with rain outside, which may play into some of the connection flakiness we saw a moment ago, but hopefully that's settled down now. Thank you for joining us. Lovely to see so many in the chat, and a big hello to Chris for tuning in. Someone asking earlier on, are we streaming over the weekend? This is really just a test of equipment, single camera. Adam's doing a sterling job of providing some commentary for us. Bit of a test. If it goes all right and we don't get too many more of those little dropouts, which you'll have noticed, we may do a broadcast tomorrow. I'll be encouraged to do that if we hit, say, 1,000 likes on YouTube. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing when it's not dropping out, do give the video a like. And if we see enough of those come through, maybe 1,000, I'll commit to at least getting the guys out there and giving it a go. It's conceivable that we'll face more issues tomorrow because of the nature of the connection that we have on site. As I say, more of a test of equipment and getting Dad up to speed with Adrian, up to speed with a new camera purchase, which he's not used previously. So yeah, bit of a test, and hopefully you're enjoying our test and don't mind the occasional dropout. Thank you for tuning in. Who else did I see in the chat there? Going on, not very much at the moment, so we're waiting our next display. Adam, was it P51? Let me just double check. I can run you through what we are anticipating seeing the rest of the afternoon. Yes, so Mustang and then a Red Arrows closing the daytime show out at 4:30. So Mustang due in at minute 12, which is 1 minute away. So I've probably not got much longer to say. Do give the video a like, subscribe here on YouTube. And if you really enjoy what you're seeing, do consider joining as a member on YouTube. It does help us, help encourage me to do more of these free-to-view streams. And if you really, really like what you see, and you would really, really like to see the air show from Duxford next weekend, a sky full of Spitfires. This is the Battle of Britain air show at Duxford. We'll be streaming that through our subscription service at watch.planestv.com. And yeah, head over to that URL, sign up, and for a modest monthly fee, you'll be able to see that. Right, let's go live. Not to me, to them. And sadly that's timed with a bit of a dropout from Bournemouth. So hoping the guys will, the signal will pick back up. And it has done. So hopefully Adam can fill us in on some of the detail of this aeroplane.
This aircraft was the most successful long-range fighter escort of World War II.
Well, here we have a P-51D Mustang, owned by Warbird Experiences at Biggin Hill, but displayed for us today by the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight, who are the custodians of this aircraft as far as the airshow circuit is concerned. They had a very busy summer season with it this year. A familiar aircraft to us, previously under the names The Shark and Old Crow, but now known as Warhorse. And the significance of that name, Warhorse, is that it is the aircraft flown by Donald Blakesley, a very senior American colonel who flew more missions against the Luftwaffe than any other American pilot during the Second World War. He actually started out as a Spitfire pilot with the Royal Canadian Air Force before transferring to the RAF Eagle squadrons, and finally to the United States Army Air Forces in 1942. He then flew the P-47 and became the commanding officer of the 4th Fighter Group, where he pushed hard to re-equip the unit with this aircraft, the P-51 Mustang. In March 1944, he became the first pilot to fly a P-51 over Berlin. In June of that year, he led the first shuttle mission to Russia, and he was then grounded in September owing to his high status. There had been some high-profile shoot-downs in the weeks and months previously, but he was grounded having accumulated over 1,000 combat hours and 15.5 kills. He finally retired in 1965 and died in 2008. An outstanding career, and this aircraft now flies as a tribute to him, and as it enters this 360-degree turn, showing off all planes of this beautiful aircraft, much of it bare metal, glinting in the sun. I shall stop talking and let you enjoy the rest of this display, unsullied by my voice.
Now with a memorial just on the edge of the car park by the cafe outside. I'll get that out. There we go, get a long vehicle. So this aircraft, the P-51 unit, range was an incredible 2,000 miles thanks to its huge fuel capacity of 1,000 litres internally and 815 litres in drum tank. Equally impressive was its level maximum speed of 437 miles an hour, up to 500 miles an hour in a dive, and service ceiling just under 42,000 feet. Constructed at the P-51D, 25NA, the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight Mustang rolled off the North American Aviation Production Line in California in 1944. Delivered to the United States of America Air Force in July 1945, but not seen combat during World War II. We believe that the aircraft spent most of its service life in various training units in the States. In 1951, then delivered to the Royal Canadian Air Force, serial number service will be number 403 City of County for again, big Molly. Straight as he learned through his guns, Arthur Williams joined the Army Instruction School, trained as an anti-tank helicopter pilot, serving operational tours over the world, during which time includes 2 seasons with the well-known and famous at the time usual helicopter display team by the Link helicopter. He's been working with Rolls-Royce flight operations since 2016, going full-time, flying the Gulf Stream mainly, but managing the Rolls-Royce Heritage flight. Now he's flying the Harvard and the Mustang, and you'll see another new aircraft in their tail in the hands of management later this evening with the Mark 19 Spitfire. But right now, focus once again on the P-51D, an outstanding workhorse of the Second World War. The gripping power Spitfire PSA-53 continues successful flight with the flag for Rolls-Royce. They decided to add the heritage flight by operating in one of the iconic Bournemouth aircraft. The Mustang was seen as the perfect fit. And as decided on that, Rolls-Royce appointed Sean Patrick to be their owner of the over to John about the aircraft. For supporting of the request and
Now we airshow enthusiasts, photographers, camera operators and so on always love topside passes. The Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight do so particularly nicely, and we're about to see one here on this fly past. Lovely, look at this iconic shape. And it's a bit of a misconception perhaps that the Mustang before the Merlin was a particularly good fighter with the original Allison engines, and it's certainly true that when the Mustang came along it didn't perform well in the high altitude environment, but it was a very capable low altitude fighter, and that is why potential was seen in the design. The engine that was chosen to replace the Allison was the Merlin 66. That's the same as was fitted to Mark 9 Spitfires, which were frequently used on high altitude work such as photo reconnaissance. Of those two pieces of equipment, the Mustang design with the Merlin engine, created an aircraft that was a capable low altitude fighter, interceptor fighter, but also an extremely potent escort fighter, and that was a combination of two roles that had not really been seen before, certainly not to such good effect. And that barrel roll, concluding the display by P-51D Mustang Warhorse from the Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight. Very nicely done, some lovely top sides, and we have a short break now before arguably the stars of the show take control of the airspace. There is this sort of buffer period while the Reds take control of the airspace from the airshow organisers. There's a larger NOTAM that comes into effect, a 5-mile exclusion zone. So there is a short break while all of those mechanics take place in the background, and I think I shall pass back to Ian if he's ready to take the microphone for a little while we wait for the Reds.
Always ready. Isn't he good, Adam? I've seen some lovely comments there in the chat about Adam's detailed description of the displays, prompting manoeuvres coming up. We like it. I hope you do too. Thank you all for joining. It's got the red arrows in round about, what did I see, about 9 minutes time. So do stick around. This is going to be the highlight of the day for many. Who did I see in the chat? Someone asking if they've taken off yet. Well, I'm down here in Devon, so I can't see or hear. Peace Psycho saying he can hear them though. So I don't know where you are, presumably in Bournemouth somewhere. So yeah, Red's due at 30 minutes past. And question that is Red 6 displaying today? I'm not sure actually. You'd hope so. Helmet took a bit of a beating, didn't it? Hope he's fitting well. Yes, it's just the Reds to come. The evening flying display will take place this evening. it's been a useful test today. Whether we'll dig the guys back out, I don't think we're not expecting to do that. I'm sure they're not expecting to do it because they're toing and froing from home for the show. As I say, this is a bit of a test, so not as refined as we'd normally like it. Just a single camera down there at Bournemouth with Adam providing a bit of commentary as well. They're heading home this evening. Won't I drag them out tomorrow? Well, if we get 1,000 likes on this YouTube video, I definitely will. You can only press it once, Mike, by the way, saying the button seems to be stuck. It will be if you've already pressed it, but thank you for doing so. We're at about 500 likes now, so there's 1,000 people watching. If you all push the button to like it, then I will send the guys out tomorrow to hopefully live broadcast the show tomorrow as well. So the reason I'm slightly hesitant is that the connection that we have is not quite as robust as I'd like it to commit to dragging guys out into the field and trying to do that. It's looking all right at the moment. The signal on site is good, making use of 4 different networks, 2 of them currently providing some network connection. If you're new to Plains TV, hello, welcome. We did provide cameras for the Bournemouth live broadcasts over the years, sort of the long lens telephoto stuff. My father and Adrian, who's on camera now, and myself provided that over the years. But of course we haven't had the Bournemouth TV kind of thing since COVID, I think I'm right in saying. But you know, it's such a wonderful show. It does seem a shame that it's not broadcast. So yeah, trying to see what's feasible today, and if we hit 1,000 likes tomorrow as well. 550 already. Well done, everybody. Okay, let's get it up to 1,000, and then I'll definitely do it. I know the guys are both keen to, Adrian and Adam. I'm solid with work in preparation for Jersey next week. That'll be a live stream on YouTube, so do subscribe here if you're not already. Following weekend, we'll be broadcasting through our subscription service. That's at watch.plainstv.com. He says, hunting for the appropriate title. That's on that service, so not on YouTube, but on that subscription service, as was Riyadh earlier in the year and the June Duxford show. So if you'd like to join us for that, do head over to that website and you can sign up and join us for what's going to be a fantastic air show at Duxford next weekend. Skies full of Spitfires, Hurricanes and much else besides. Sort that title out. And then the following week we're taking a team of 4 out, plus Ben Donnell, to the Czech Republic to produce an English language live broadcast of the NATO Days event. So Czech Republic, big NATO show, lots of support from other NATO members and other countries too. The Swiss and the Austrians getting involved too. So a really action-packed military air show. Lots in the air, lots of ground activity as well, tanks and stuff that I don't understand, providing very dynamic displays and very noisy displays. So that will go out on YouTube, and if you want to keep posted on when that is, do sign up to the email newsletter. It's in the description below, and I'll be publishing an email newsletter about that in due course. So just a few minutes to go. Another 5 minutes to go until the red arrows. We're nearly at 600 likes. We might do this. I'm sure Adam and Adrian have already given it a like because they are keen to get out there and do it. I'm the one dragging my feet because I only like doing stuff when it's good and robust and solid, and I know I'm not going to embarrass myself. But here I am, live streaming from what was my daughter's bedroom 12 months ago. Ian, be proud of your crew's work. Fabulous stuff, thank you, says Mike. I certainly am. Really good job by Adam and Adrian today. This is Adrian's first time using this specific camera and this specific setup. He's been filming air shows for 30 odd years, so you know he's got the experience, but there are some idiosyncrasies with it, so bear that in mind. Yeah, B-52 tomorrow. So we will have 2 B-52s at the Czech Republic show. So is it enough to drag the guys out tomorrow? Maybe. 1,000 likes will be. I've mentioned that enough now. Please press the like button, everyone. Yeah, I would like to do it, but as I say, we'll get into a situation where I do it and then the connection will not be as solid as I need, and we'll get a rough stream for you. Akalai, thank you very much for the super chat or the donation there. Thank you very much. The guys will eat. Maybe I'll afford them a pudding. There you go, that bandwidth again. Okay. I think probably we'll throw you back to the live commentary because we've got just a few minutes to go now until the Reds. And I dare say Adam's got a sheet of paper. He's carting around this file of facts of notes that he's created for the show, which I'm extremely grateful for him having. Someone asked earlier about this, the Hawk there. How did it get up there? Well, you know, this is a vertical takeoff version of the Hawk. Of course, it's a plastic model, a very nice plastic model that you can go and sit in if you're down the front there. Yeah, obviously the RAF Village there. Up on the cliffs, fantastic vantage point to watch the show if you are in the area and are going to the show for proper. But if you are here and joining us and you would like to watch tomorrow's broadcast, do give the video a like. If we hit 1,000 by the end of this broadcast, I will commit to sending the guys out there and I will cross my fingers that everything's going to work. Jackson Britton saying the Reds are coming in now. So I think on that note, I'll hand back to Adam and yeah, wish him luck with a bit of commentary through the Red Arrows display. Of course, we're very used to hearing the Reds commentary themselves. We'll pick some of that up on the mics you'll have heard in the background. But yeah, Adam's going to give us a bit of detail as well. Or I hope he is. Back with me.
Yes, I am going to commentate which I would not be doing if we could link up to the PA system like we normally would. But at this particular event we can't. It's unfortunately down to me. So apologies to everyone about that. However, I shall do my best. And as Ian suggested, yes, I do have a sheet of paper with all of the manoeuvres listed on it. But I think for the Reds. Oh, terrific. Glad to hear that. Thank you, everyone, for your nice comments. Yeah, I've got a sheet of paper, but I'm hoping for the Reds. It shall not be required. It's got to be, I don't know, something like the 10th time we've covered them this year.
He's also a former Tornado S3 pilot, and he's also a Tucano display pilot. The Tucano qualified flying.
We are something like a minute away from the Red Arrows starting their display. In fact, the smoke has just come on, and they are running in from behind us now in wall formation. All 7 aircraft. The leader is flying a non-smoking jet, though. Well, we speculated earlier as to whether it would be a full answer. It is a full show here at Bournemouth as the team pull up into a loop and collapse into 7-arrow formation.
They will reach a height of over 5,500 feet at the top of the loop before they descend back down to our minimum safe distance of 300 feet above the sea. Red 1, bend the formation around to the right. Red 1 is squad leader Tom Bowles. He's in his second year as the team leader.
All 7 aircraft moving out to the right-hand side. They're going to stay in 7-arrow formation. Not quite as many formation changes as usual in the first half of the display as they move towards the first barrel roll of the show.
Red 2, 3, 4 and 5 makes their way back to the rear of the formation.
Flying this aircraft that is so well suited to formation aerobatics. Little surprise, therefore, that it is used by so many aerobatic teams the world over, likes of the Midnight Hawks and the Saudi Hawks, which we've covered here on Plains TV at various editions of the Royal International Air Tattoo and the Yeovilton Air Display in the past, are among the teams that use the Hawk.
Again, his first year on the team, a former Tornado York pilot and Typhoon pilot, once again with 11.
The team now exit that roll at 300 feet. That's the Enid. course, the synchro pair can come down to 100 feet in the second half of the show. That is some way away yet, because the team will now perform the second formation change of the show. They will transition into flanker formation and approach on the left 45, pulling up into a loop and then coming past us to exit to our right.
Captain will close again this year and the team will move to Washington. It's City 2, Captain, its history, its station, its squadron, its personnel. And now that the F-35 is flying by the Downbusters, this is the Lightning Loop. Once again, 150 miles per hour. This means that the controls on the aircraft are less responsive, which means station keeping and formation keeping is even more difficult. The aircraft now accelerated up to 200 miles per hour, 300, 350, 400 miles per hour at the possibility, with decreasing all the way to 4G. As the team bends to the left on the far right hand side uppermost as we look at it is Red Bull as pointing. He is his 5th year of the team, a previous synchro leader from 2021, a former country pilot, and a former qualified flight
Now the Hawk, in all its guises, is the best-selling advanced jet trainer in the world in terms of export orders. In terms of total orders, it would be the T-38 Talon, but the Hawk has done extraordinarily well on the export market. And that, of course, is a part of the reason why it's used by so many aerobatic teams the world over. In the Royal Air Force, the T1, the version we're seeing here, was retired from the advanced jet training role in 2016, replaced by the much newer Hawk T2. It was retired from aggressor duties earlier this year. So the last remaining Hawk T1s are these ones here with the red arrows. They're expected to serve until around 2030. And as well as air displays, they are also used for aeromedical research. So here comes a barrel roll in Phoenix formation. And that, I suppose, is one of the opportunities of the 7-ship display. Of course, Phoenix is afforded from the 9-ship, very much wider, with one extra aircraft on either side. I don't imagine we'd see them barrel rolling the full 9-ship Phoenix, but we do get to see it included as a barrel roll in the 7-ship display.
Red 4 and 5 both once again as they make their way to the rear of the formation. The Royal Air Force is always looking to adapt and develop its capabilities, and it acknowledges that space plays an important part in future operations. And therefore, on the 1st of April 2021, UK Space Command was formed as it appreciates the importance of
this next formation marks the foundation of the UK Space Command, a branch of the Royal Air Force last year. And as such, this is Apollo. Apologies, this is Eagle in the shape of the Apollo landing craft.
This is Apollo. The Red Arrows are a military unit. There are 9 pilots on the team, and each pilot must have 1,500 budget hours and be assessed as a average before he joins the team.
Well, as we have a slightly quiet patch here while the team reposition for crowd favourite manoeuvre.
think what Adam's trying to say there is that I'll pop in and just say a few words. I'll just switch you back so you've got a bigger view of what's going on. Little bit of a cutout there, sorry for that. If you're just tuning in, we're filming from on top of the Cumberland Hotel, and we're really grateful for that wonderful viewing platform that they're provided. Just mute this. This is Adam calling in. He'll mute himself up, hopefully. Fantastic vantage point. It's also giving us actually quite a stable 4G connection. A little dropout just there. The dropout that you're seeing at the moment is actually another system, which if we do go for tomorrow, I'll commit to remove, and we'll just let Adam and Adrian do things solo. So we won't add in the complexity of me piping up now and then. That also frees me up for the day to do all of my jobs for our future live broadcasts at Jersey, Duxford and the Czech Republic. Right, looking like we're heading into the second half of the display. Our thanks again to the Cumberland Hotel for the wonderful vantage point they've provided us.
That's red 4 and 5, smoke red and blue. Smoking red is red 5, light 7, gaming 3.
The Red Arrows, we are possibly experiencing some network problems with my communication link between Ian in the studio and us here on the roof of the Cumberland Hotel. But we're about to get a lovely view of the Jubilee Present, the red, white and blue about to come on. Now that concludes the first half of the Red Arrows display. I'm sure you all know exactly what happens next. But we are about to break the team down into two groups, Enid Reds 1 to 5, and of course Synchro Pair Red 6 and 7. Which will be splitting them into the two groups by means of a manoeuvre called a detonator. So the team will be coming in on the B axis from directly in front of us. The 5 aircraft of Enid on top with the white smoke, Reds 6 and 7 on the bottom.
Just going to sort a slight issue we've got there with the feed. Bear with. I'll have it back in just a moment. Some of the fun and games involved in live broadcasting this, I suppose. Here we go, into the second half.
Once again, get your cameras ready. 4, 6, detonator.
So as we move into the second half of the display, we'll stay with Red 6 and 7 who pull up and then execute some derry turns. They're going to reverse and come back towards us now for the first of their opposition passes. This will involve a pair of synchronised barrel rolls before the crossover and another pair of synchronised barrel rolls afterwards. As such, this manoeuvre is called the double rolls. the synchro finish up, we look to our right 45, Enid formation running in for their first manoeuvre of the second half. The smoke has just come on. They are in leaders benefit formation. This is effectively the front half of that Phoenix formation that we saw earlier on. Reds 2 to 5 in line abreast, red 1 slightly in front, hence the name leaders benefit. They are performing 2 barrel rolls, one on the right 45 inbound to the crowd, a second on the left 45 as they depart again for a manoeuvre called Python, introduced in the late 2000s to show the crowd exactly what it's like to look down a barrel roll and see that barrel shape. Changing to white smoke for the second roll, and over the course of this manoeuvre they will leave a smoke trail roughly 5 miles long in the sky. But as Enid complete to our left, Reds 6 and 7 are approaching from the left and the right. This is for a manoeuvre that was introduced over the course of the pandemic. Effectively a pair of it is called the Boomerang.
Once again, at 100 feet, and that closing speed of over 800 miles per hour. They will cross in the middle before a series of 360 degrees aileron rolls. They will now pull up and again try to mirror each other in a full to 5 feet pulling up as they commence the start of the manoeuvre called the Boomerang. Each aircraft now put up at about 5 Gs, now weighing 5 times heavier than what you and I are as we stand upon the seashore. They are now inverted 260 degrees, going down, attempting to get back down to 100 feet as they complete the rest of the Boomerang.
And with the completion of Boomerang, we look left for Enid, who are in a 5-ship battle formation. We get to see Reds 2 and 3 applying the coloured smoke, pitching up, performing tight matched rolls to the outside of the formation with the red smoke. Then Reds 4 and 5 will do likewise with blue smoke for the rollbacks. Final roll now taking place, and we stay looking right now because the synchro pair just rejoined behind us. Red 6 and 7 are now approaching from the right. Red 6 is going to roll inverted and Red 7 will barrel roll around his smoke trail. This is the corkscrew.
Red 6 rolls inverted. He is now upside down all over the shoreline to make sure he can make a huge wave as Red 7 rolls around the smoke like Red 6. Red 7 is constantly getting
We'll keep following Red 6 and 7 now because this is where we see one of the very interesting changes with this year's display as compared to a normal 9-ship display. They hadn't planned to fly the double goose this year. It should have been the conventional 5 versus 1 goose, but some of the late changes over the course of Operation Springhawk necessitated various changes to the display programme, and one of those changes involved Red 6 and 7 reversing after the corkscrew, coming back towards us. Meanwhile, out to the right-hand side, 5 aircraft are approaching in an inverted V-shape. The smoke about to come on the right. And this is a manoeuvre not seen since 2017. It's the double goose.
Red 1 brings the formation around to the right. Each aircraft is pitching with a split off. Red 1 is a 25 aircraft without a 6 on the
You'll notice not all of the aircraft that are available to the Red Arrows have been fitted with smoke systems, and for the past week or so they have been using one jet that doesn't have one. If you are going to do that in the display, it makes sense for it to be Red 1 that doesn't smoke, because it's the only aircraft where that doesn't actually affect the symmetry of any of the manoeuvres. And speaking of symmetry, look straight ahead, because we're about to see a famously symmetrical manoeuvre now from the synchro pair who are running in front of us, pulling up now. They are about to split on the upline. Smoke comes on. This is the heart. And this is a manoeuvre that has been able to be flown at so many more shows. Heart, which basically allows Red 6 and 7 to fly this manoeuvre almost on the level with a cloud base of just 2,500 feet. To include it in the rolling show, it would have previously been Vortex. As Red 6 and 7 exits the left and right, they're going to turn back towards us now. The smoke has come back on, and they are getting ready for their final manoeuvre of the display. One last opportunity.
All fun and games. Lost the connection from the guys for the final parts of the Red Arrows display. They are coming back. It will drop back in. Again, apologies about that. Using this broadcast as an opportunity to test some equipment.
And in fact, we've seen a modified version of that manoeuvre there, possibly in lieu of any smoke from Red 1. Just a conventional 5-ship battle break rather than the infinity break, but nonetheless, rounding out a very enjoyable display from the Red Arrows.
And what Adam's trying to say there is that it was a fantastic display from the Red Arrows. I'm sorry if the dropouts there affected your enjoyment of the show. As I say, a bit of a test broadcast for us here. We've learned some things
to talk to you about in just a moment. We have yet to receive our instructions as to whether or not we are broadcasting that.
Okay, he's handed it back to me. He's wondering whether I'm going to get him to film the evening display. Now, I'd like to do that, but given that some of the... Actually, do you know, it might be quite tempting, because I have a slight change I can make to the way that we're set up, and that would hopefully improve the connection things. So stick around. If you'd like to watch that or any broadcast that we do either this evening or tomorrow, it's not a certainty, but we might do subscribe to the channel and do give it a like. You can pop your notifications on, and then you'll get notified when we do go live. As I say, it's fairly rare that we do that, but you know, nice way of keeping informed. Another good way, sign up to the email newsletter. And if you've enjoyed what you have seen between the slight breaks, do give the video a like. We're at 740 there, so it's not a dead cert that I'll do tomorrow. Maybe we will keep the guys there. Adrian can have his fish and chips, and Adam can have a late night, and we can maybe try a bit of a different way of doing things. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for joining in the chat. No need to bicker in the chat. You know, we're all hopefully enjoying some aviation here. Family friendly, usually. So yes, thank you for keeping things clean and entertaining there. How do I pop the notification on? I tell you what, I've got a little animation. Thank you for asking the question. This cheeky little animation here will explain. You like it, you'll subscribe, and then look out for this little icon here. So the little notification button there, that will mean you get notified if you've got notifications on YouTube. We've been shooting from the top of the Cumberland Hotel really excellent vantage point. If you're ever visiting Bournemouth, do consider popping in and making use of their services, because they've been a wonderful host for us. Here's a little video about the Cumberland Hotel. Fabulous vantage point, as you can see from that last shot, and hopefully from the coverage from today. Adrian recording today, so he's been on camera, and Adam's been providing some really nice commentary through the day. So he's listening in on the phone here. This is part of the sort of test we're doing here, the sort of two ACOMs with the team in the field and feeding back to me. The slight tweak I can make is to remove me from the whole situation, which might improve things, both connectivity-wise, because of the way we're connecting up, and because who wants to see a bloke sat in his living room, in my daughter's old bedroom, in Devon, when we could be seeing shots like, let's try and find the Bournemouth seafront there, give you a bigger shot. Yeah, so lovely sunny afternoon there, and squaring up to be quite a nice evening's forecast actually as well, so it's quite tempting to do the evening show. We won't continue this broadcast, and we'll start another if we do that. Obviously I'm going to have to twist Adam and Adrian's arm to stay, although if I say I'm going to buy Adrian's fish and chips, he'll do pretty much anything, so I'll give that one a whirl. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope you've enjoyed it in between the slight connectivity issues. If you have, do give it a like. If I hit 1,000 likes on this video, we're currently at 775, so not far off. If we do hit 1,000, I'll definitely get the guys to come tomorrow. Otherwise, it's a bit of a maybe, depending on how things go later today. Tell me a joke, or I will unsub. Okay. Oh, well, there was the guy walking around Bournemouth naked earlier. Bit of a problem. Not sure what was going on there. Eventually turned up actually at reception downstairs, and he's, police are like, what's going on? Not only that, had a woman on his back. Absolute scenes down at the Cumberland reception. Receptionist says, what's going on? And what's that on the back? On your back? Oh God, fumbling over a punchline. This is terrible. Nice connectivity issue here. It will help me out. Oh, it's such a good joke as well. It slipped out of my mind. Oh, yes. Okay, let's make sure we've got a connection here, because this punchline is well worth you all sticking around for. How's the stream? Connection is too slow. Let me press play on YouTube. Make sure you can hear me, because you've got to have a punchline. I'll be incredibly embarrassed if you go home without it. And okay, that looks like it's just about to come back in. All right, let's stick with some chat, and maybe I'll remember that punchline in a moment. This is embarrassing. Artful says, thanks for doing this today. And Artful, it was you asking about this evening, so I'll sound the guys out in a minute, and if we do it, we'll do it without me and missing punchlines. So we'll give that one a whirl potentially. And Polly saying thank you, and please do it tomorrow. I missed today. Yeah, I'll try to. As I say, if we hit 1,000 likes, I definitely will. And Tom saying satellite connection solves all the issues. Actually, it's something to do with the link I'm sending back here. So the 4G's held up well today. Actually, it's got to where it needed to go initially, quite solidly actually, which has surprised me in this crowd, which is why I was calling it a test. The link I'm making back to me is the flaky part. Andy says big things, thumbs up. Yeah, okay, good stuff. Well, thank you all for tuning in. The punchline is, yes, Dan has the punchline. Oh dear, thank you, Dan. Right. On my next live stream from Jersey, I will have a rip-roaring joke for you. I'll have prepared it and I'll have your punchline for you. Please don't unsubscribe, whoever it was that said they needed a joke, otherwise they'd unsubscribe. Will asking, is there more flying? There is this evening, and we may broadcast it. If you want to see if we do or not, subscribe and switch your notifications on, and you'll be able to tune in this evening. Evening displays at Bournemouth are pretty awesome, so I would like to do it. Especially if the weather's looking good, and it is. And we've got the guys there for the cost of a couple of plates of fish and chips. Get ourselves a live stream. As I say, this all sounds a bit weird. You know, why aren't you broadcasting it all Plains TV? Well, no one's paying us to be there. We've got some big shows coming up. We're heading out to Jersey. Got Duxford next weekend, and we've got Czech Republic weekend after. All of that means that I'm sat here really prepping for those, rather than being out and about producing live streams of Bournemouth, which isn't a direct revenue generator, if we can put it like that. Sylv saying thanks for the stream. Thank you, Sylv, for tuning in, and thank you for encouraging people to like the video earlier. Very helpful. Right, yes. Man walks into a pub with a woman on his back. I still can't do it. I'll stick to the day job, I think. Right, thank you all for tuning in. Been a pleasure seeing you all communicating in the chat as ever. I'm going to say cheerio. Give myself some lessons about my lack of comedy timing. And maybe see you later, or maybe not. So I might just hand it over to Adam to do a stream from the seafront there. And just got a message from Chris. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, so this might all be a little bit more or less. We may just do single camera from the seafront, Adam chatting through, keep it simple later on, and remove the link, which was causing some of the dropouts you saw today. So yeah, we might give that a go later for the evening display. If we do that, just for your information, that is on at 7:15 this evening, so probably go live around about 7 if we get the guys to do it. It's only 2 hours away, so yeah, I'll look at the forecast, I'll talk to Adam and the guys and Adrian, make sure they're happy, and yeah, potentially go live later. Right, I'm off. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.